been a while since I made a video on this thing. What is up, guys? For this video we're going to be talking about the Dakota, plans for it over winter, and just a couple things that I've done off to the side here and there, and haven't been making any videos on it because it was just minor stuff essentially. So first thing you'll notice is this truck has different wheels on it from the last time you guys saw it. So these are the wheels that were originally on my, well, they weren't originally on my Eclipse, they were on my Eclipse for a little while, if you guys may remember them from that. Two of them have giant dents on them, which I had repaired, and then I sandblasted them, repainted them, and got them on the Dakota now, because they're the same lug pattern as the Eclipse, now that it's 5-lug all the way around. Also, I have some Achilles tires in the front, Z-rated tires at that, so those will be up in the front for a little while. These are the same Lexanize in the back that I've had on here for a while. They were cheap tires and they were the size I was looking for, so we've got that going on there. Not much else has really changed. I do think I have raised the front slightly since last time you guys saw it. The only other thing that I have done, which I just did the other day, is I installed these little grill mesh inserts. So I found these on a truck at the junkyard just the other day, and I have seen these on trucks in pictures, but I always thought they were just some sort of homemade thing. I did not know that there was ever an aftermarket grill mesh insert for these trucks, but this is made by the Lund. You can actually see it on that little clip there. I had no idea they ever actually made these. You cannot buy them anymore. I've never seen them come up for sale used. This is the first time I've ever seen them on a truck in person, but I saw them and I was like, I need to have these right now. Other than that, nothing has really changed on it. It's been the same pretty much all summer, and it's worked very well all summer up until very recently. So before we talk about the issues that it has right now, which has nothing to do with the turbo kit, ironically, it has to do with the transmission, we'll talk about some things that need to be addressed right away on the truck before I can really even drive it very much more or do modifications to make it any faster, because the thing drives like complete ass right now. So this truck needs all the front bushings replaced, like upper lower control arm, sway bar, everything. All of it needs to be done. One of the bushings is completely missing on the passenger side. It also needs inner and outer tie rods, needs ball joints, everything in the whole front end needs to be replaced and gone through. It's going to need an alignment, of course, afterwards. So that is top priority on my list of things to do. The very next video modifying or upgrading this truck is going to be installing polyurethane bushings on the front, kind of like I have on the back. So that's going to be a huge job. Not going to be a very expensive job. All the bushings all together are going to be like $150, and ball joints aren't that much either. I have outer tie rods already, so I just have to buy some new inners. But yeah, that's the very next thing that's going to be happening. After the front end stuff is done, I found a blue bed to match this color blue almost, but at least it's sort of the right blue. It might be the right one, but this paint's so destroyed you can't tell. But I was at the junkyard the other day, found a blue bed with almost no rust on it. So underneath, completely spotless. The only rust it had was just a little bit in this area here, which is totally gone on mine. So picking that up on Sunday, and then that means that over winter, this bed and this bed cap are both going to be going away. I might keep the bed around and turn it into a trailer or something. We'll see. But the cap will no longer be going on the truck. Once the new bed is on there, I'm not going to drill holes into it to put this cap on. So this will be the end of the bed cap era, unfortunately, but I do think it is time to move on. But while the bed is off, I'm going to be going underneath the truck and fixing a bunch of rust on the frame in this area, and cleaning some stuff up behind the one leaf spring bracket here, and just touching up some other things as I see fit before the new bed goes on. But the primary thing is I want to full box the frame from where the full box ends right here to about just past where the first bed bracket starts. That way it's got good structural support all the way to where the bed starts supporting it. And then I'm just going to clean up some areas and stuff in the back. So front bushings, front suspension, whole setups being gone through, and then frame repair and stiffening going on. Also, after the frame repair is all done, we will be installing some traction bars. I have a set that I bought used on eBay for like 90 bucks. They're chromoly 2 poly bushing traction bars that I found, and I was like, these are mine. So got those. I've had them for a few months now, so I just have to make brackets, bolt them to the frame and the axle, and that'll pretty much get the chassis and everything set. I don't plan on doing anything else to it chassis wise or suspension wise. The height's perfect. Once the front end is tight, all that'll be good. Traction bars is really the only other thing that needs to be done to the rear, and brakes and all that stuff I did a couple years ago, and this truck doesn't have that many miles on it. I do kind of want to rerun some of the brake lines and move them around a little bit so they're in better locations, especially up in the front, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or not straight away or do it later. And that pretty much covers all of that stuff. So what we'll move on to next after all that is done is getting the engine and transmission out of it, because this thing is getting a whole new turbo kit and the transmission needs rebuilt. I also intend to install some Spicer U-joints on the drive shaft because I do not want to snap one, so we'll be doing that as well. I may also be installing a drive shaft loop on this truck just as a precaution, just in case it snaps drive shaft. I don't want it ripping my fuel lines and stuff out or coming through the floor or anything like that. So talking about the transmission, I actually didn't really break it. I knew this transmission was kind of on thin ice from the day that I got it, because when I initially changed the fluid 2 years ago after swapping, a lot of brass material came out of it, or whatever you would call it, from the synchros. And now currently the third gear synchronizer is completely shot. If you're just cruising around normal, it'll shift into third decently, but it's a little bit nibbly. And if you're trying to, power shift or race or whatever, try and shift hard, it blocks you out completely. It grinds a little bit. It will not go into third gear. I found that out the hard way in Mexico the other night, so now I know that I need to rebuild a transmission. Luckily for this truck, rebuild kits for the NV3500 are about $150. Comes with all the bearings and synchronizers and everything, so it's basically everything but new gears, which is perfect. I think this transmission is plenty strong. I think it just has a ton of miles on it because, like I said, a lot of material came out of it from the synchronizers 2 years ago when I changed the fluid after installing it. And I don't know the mileage of the truck it came out of. It could have had 400,000, 500,000 miles on it. Don't really know for sure. Once it's rebuilt, because this thing's also always had a lot of bearing noise coming from the input shaft, so a fresh rebuild and this thing should be good to go. I am not going to be driving it anymore with this bad synchronizer because I don't want to destroy the teeth on the engagement point on the gear from shifting it with a bad synchronizer. So transmission is getting a full rebuild, and then that'll bring us to the new turbo kit that is going on and a couple of other things. So for one thing, I'm going pretty much max weight reduction on this truck over winter. All of the creature comforts are going away. Headliner, a lot of the trim panels in the interior, the blower motor, the heater core, the AC condenser, all that stuff. I'm pulling the whole dashboard out, ripping all that out, ripping a bunch of wiring out I don't need anymore. It's all going to come out. This truck's biggest advantage is its weight, how light it is, and I'm just going to go all out and do as much as I can, remove as much weight as I can, especially from the front of the truck, because all that weight is up here in the nose. More weight I can remove from the front, the better it'll transfer the weight to the back on launches and stuff, and most of the weight that I have removed from this truck has been at the rear, so removing weight from the front is a very, very, very good idea. I also have considered getting a short shifter for this transmission for next year as well, but that'll just depend on funds, because the only short shifter that is available for this truck is about $500, and that's a lot of money for what is a budget build, essentially. I mean, this truck's kind of blown its initial budget, but I've had it for a long time now too. So if it's in the budget, if I can get one, I'm going to be getting a short shifter for it, but I may just run the stock one for now because it's worked pretty well. My biggest thing that I would kind of like to have is a short shifter with shift stops so that I don't bend shifter forks and stuff when I'm beating on it. So, and then that brings us to the new turbo kit that this thing is getting. So for one thing, we are returning to the bumper dump. That is for weight savings and also just for power. I want the most free-flowing exhaust I can get, but I don't want to do a hood dump because I'll end up with soot all over my windshield. This thing has a very obnoxious soot issue. You can kind of see a bunch of it all over these jugs here. We're going to be getting some 318 long tube headers and then cutting the back runner off of each header and then using those on the 3.9 and just plugging the one runner off. So I'll be able to get long tube headers from a V8. They bolt right on. They just have an extra runner on them. So I'll be using those. I'll be making a whole new Y pipe. Instead of being what it's currently 2-inch into 2.5, it's going to be 2.5-inch into 3-inch into the Y pipe up into the turbo. Going to be either running a GT 3582 or 3582R. So we're going much bigger on the turbo size, much bigger on the exhaust. I will probably be running dual wastegates. They'll both be externally dumped, not recirculated anymore. and I'm going to be rewiring the whole truck once all the turbo kit, the engine, transmission, once everything's put back together. The new bed will be on it, the fuel cell will be relocated a little bit. I'm going to shift it further towards back. Batteries going under the bed in the far back corner, and a lot of the electrical system is going to, kind of like the fuse boxes and stuff, are going to go from in the engine bay to in the cab or in the bed. I haven't decided for sure if I want to put them in the bed or in the cab. Probably the cab, because I won't have a cap to keep everything safe anymore. But I'm going to be rewiring the entire truck. So while the dashboard's out, I'm going to strip all the wires I don't need, stuff getting moved to the back, out of the engine bay as much as I can, and just cleaning everything up because there's a lot of wiring stuff that needs cleaned up. The fuel pump's going to get a relay with a power supply straight off the battery running to it, and I'm just going to go all out, get everything done, tidied up. I want this thing to be able to be as reliable next year, but with more power than it was this year, because this year it was pretty much dead nuts reliable until the transmission issue, which is incredible considering how hard I'm already pushing this thing. So one other thing that may end up getting done to the engine is head studs. It is possible to install ARP head studs without removing the heads. You can do them one at a time and torque them to the factory torque spec and then torque them to the ARP spec after all of them have been changed out. Lots of people do it. It's very common on LSs and stuff. So I might do that. It's once again going to depend on budget and time, because I do want this thing running by the time the weather gets nice so I can get it tuned and then just go out and have some fun with it. I think that covers the majority of the stuff that's going to be going down. I'll be able to give you guys, you know, a better idea as time goes on what is going on and everything with it, because my plans may change as, you know, time progresses and I come across things and who knows what. So wanted to make a video getting you guys caught up on this thing. I want to get you guys excited for everything that is going to be going on over winter to this truck. And now that I have a car trailer, this thing will finally be able to go to the drag strip for the first time, which is going to be great. And I'll be able to get you guys some real data on what this thing is doing in the quarter mile, which will be nice. This thing has been to Mexico a couple of times, but you don't get time slips in Mexico, so it doesn't really give me anything to compare to. Hope you guys are looking forward to seeing the, I guess, version 3 turbo build on the Dakota. I am definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully next year this thing will be able to lay down 300 wheel horsepower. That is the goal. So yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys are looking forward to seeing more of this thing, and I will see you all later.